This is going to be the first video in a three-part video series talking about one-page RPG rules, Dead Mall, and how this piece of paper has consumed the last couple months of my life. So let's get into this. Welcome to Solitary RPG. So this is going to be the first video in a series of three videos talking about Dead Mall. In this particular video, I'm just going to talk about one-page RPG rules, which Dead Mall is a concept of. I'm going to talk about Dead Mall itself and how this piece of paper had taken me down memory lane and has pulled at all my nostalgia heartstrings and really has consumed my life for the past couple months. First, I want to talk about how did I discover Dead Mall. Dead Mall was talked about on a podcast called Vintage RPG. I really enjoy listening to their podcast. I will put a link in the description below to the episode talking about Dead Mall if you want to take a listen to it and maybe discover them as a podcast of choice. They do very short, concise videos talking about vintage RPG materials or just things that are unique to the RPG genre. And this was one of the things they talked about. So, Dead Mall is a one page rule. What exactly is one page rules RPGs? Basically, it's a very compact, dense set of rules that you can play as a one shot or just as a filler game. They're not super deep as far as lore and background and stories. They're just simple, easy rules to have fun and a good time. But one page rules is an art form. There is an art to one page rules because you only have one page to work out. Yes, this is 2 pages, but normally the second page on any of the one page rules is going to be more charts or covers and things like that. The concept is to keep all of the main rules onto one page. And there's actually a competition that is held on itch.io where they call it the one page rule jams or something like that, where people submit one page rules and then people vote on it to have them published in a book format or some other format. And I actually ordered the one page rule book. Tiny Tome is what it's called. And I'm waiting for that to be released and I'll do a review on that because it's all just one page rules. Um, so that's kind of what they are. They're just really condensed rules. But there is, like I said, there's an art form. And this is not very artistic in some of the ways that they do things, but some of the rules get very creative in how they put all the information in there, and you can just get lost looking at these one page rules and just seeing how they do things. There's also, people will do like one page dungeons. This is a big subgenre of a subgenre where it's just like a dungeon done in one page, and it just gets very creative how they do things and compact all the information. One of the other games that I found fascinating, Band Name Generator. So this is a solo role-playing game for naming a band. This is a great example of one-page rules because they explore subjects that are just completely different. You don't need there's no lore, there's no background. It's just some simple rules, some simple charts, and you just start playing. You just have a good time naming a band. This is going to be used in Dead Mall because I'm going to play a teenager who's in a band and he's exploring a dead mall, and we're the name of the band will just be background information. But again, it's just a cool. This is just a cool concept, and it's just neat. One page rules are just very unique and they just offer you an opportunity to layer in as much as you want. So if you look at Dead Mall, like there's not much to this game. Um, you have three difficulty ratings. They call them difficulty score guidelines. Easy's 8, moderate's 10, hard is 12. It's a 2d6 system. Add your modifiers. Done. So if you face something, Depending on what you're facing, you just give it one of these scores, and then the players have to, roll 2d6, add whatever their statistic would be, and they only have three: strength, dexterity, and intelligence, and you're good to go. There's not a lot to the game, which I love, because then this opens up my mind. I get to create the setting. So now I grew up going to the mall. I grew up a mile down the street from Metro Center, and I spent a lot of time at the mall. So for me, the nostalgia is I want to recreate my youth going to Metro Center. So I'm creating my background. I'm even creating the reason why the mall died. In reality, Metro Center died because its economics in the community changed, and everything in the world changed, and it just went out of business. The mall concepts have kind of faded away and all that kind of stuff. Um, Malls have been dying in states across the country and even in other countries. It's just not how people shop anymore. So, anyways, so you create the reason it died. You create the what's inside the dead mall. So you can make this game about any type of situations that you want. You could even say the mall's still a functioning mall, and you're just investigate. You could use it as like a zombie apocalypse game, like I forget the name of the zombie movie where they were all held up in a mall, but you literally could do that in this game. And the rules are so simple and light that you don't have to sit there and explain to people how to play the game. You just kind of jump into it, and you just start throwing situations at the players, or you're just, for solo playing, you're just creating the situations with your whatever oracle or chart or table that you're using. And that's kind of what Dead Mall is. That's kind of what one page rules are. They're simple, light, airy kind of rules, and you can just have a lot of fun with them. For me, I'm layering in more stuff into this game to make it more of a solo game, because this is designed for someone to run or to referee, like a GM type game. And I'm pulling the GM part out, so I need to add a little bit more to it. But yes, that is what it is. And like I said, I'm going to be structuring this after Metro Center in Phoenix, Arizona, where basically I grew up, a mile down the street. So I started doing research. I started going, okay, what can I find on Metro Center? So one of the challenges I faced creating what I'm creating for this game was the heyday for Metro Center was like the 80s and early 90s. It started fading towards the end of the 90s and really started fading hard in the 2000s, and it closed recently during the COVID pandemic. Is when Metro Center finally closed its doors, and now it's being redeveloped, and they're tearing the mall section down. And so anyways, so I couldn't find a lot of information, because back in the 80s and early 90s, we didn't have these devices in our pockets where we could take photos of everything, and we could share it. We didn't have the social media sites like we do today. And even when Facebook came out, Facebook wasn't all that cool when it first came out, and it wasn't a necessary thing. It was just a distraction that people used when it first came out. So there's not a lot out there. Like, it's really hard to find like fun photos of people at Metro Center. It's really hard to find maps and layouts of Metro Center. Like, the information is very sparse. I do need to get to like the public library and see if maybe the public library has more information about Metro Center. Maybe like they archived some newspaper articles or something just on Metro Center alone. I haven't decided if I'm going to go that far down the rabbit hole or not. But what I have done is I was able to find some maps. So this is one of the maps I was able to find of Metro Center, but it's just a lower level. And how I'm treating this game is as a dungeon dive. And if you look at a map of Metro Center, or any mall for that matter, you've got all the store entrances here, but then you have all these pathways behind it. So it's going to be kind of like a dungeon dive, because you'll be able to go into one store and maybe get to the back hallway and go down 3 or 4 stores and go into another store. Like, you'll have all these back passages and stuff. this isn't a very good map, though. This was a terrible map. And then I did find like modern maps, and they kind of showed some of that same concept of the back passages and stuff, but still, this was a very modern map. The stores aren't accurate at all for the time period. So I want to be, the time period I'm playing is going to be early 90s to 93, which is when Metro Center underwent a major renovation, and it opens up an opportunity to create the reason why the mall died. So like maybe during the renovation, something tragic happened financially, or the place, collapsed, or something caught fire. You can create a lot of different stories during a major renovation. And that's where the time period I'm going to use is. And this is more 2000 ish. So none of these stores actually exist. Some of them did. Like Sears was there from the beginning till the end, and Dillard's came in at one point, Macy's came in at one point. But for the most part, all the internal stores aren't there. And these behind the scene maps weren't good. And then this was the only type of a directory map I could find listing the stores. Again, this is later. This isn't the time period I'm looking for, so it wasn't very helpful. But it's just really hard to find information. Until I started hunting around on Pinterest. Pinterest seemed to be a great source for finding information. So I found this kind of architectural drawing of the lower level of Metro Center, which had a lot of the stores, some of the stores listed here, but a lot of things written into the stores so I could identify the stores. But it really showed me all the behind the stores locations, like how people got around. Got a little cut off here, but this is all an entrance over here, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And this is Sears over here and the Broadway over here. So I was able to take this and really make a cool map out of it. I'm not using all of these stores, because some of these stores, like this is an early version of the map, and I can tell that because this is Goldwater's. We still have the Ice Palace, and the Ice Palace actually was part of the major renovation back in the 90s, where they wanted to make this more of a midway arcade discovery zone, I think is what they called it. And so this was all renovated. Plus, they covered up the top and did a bunch of different stuff. So this was a major source of the renovation. And also, Harkins Theater isn't here yet. So this is a very early, probably 70s version of the map of this, but it gives me all the information I need. And then I was able to find this one, which was a little bit harder for me to deal with because this is a photo of this, and when I tried to enlarge it, it got grainy, so I couldn't really make out a lot of these stores and what they were, and I don't have a lot of information. But this is the upper level, and again, another older map, but it shows me all the behind the, like, it gives me a great look at the food court and all the different booths in the food court. Gives me all the information in the background. So I really went to town with these maps. And then I had a map of the outside of Metro Center. So this is the loop that we used to cruise back in the 80s out at Friday and Saturday nights when we called cruising Metro Center or cruising the mall. We went driving around this loop. Golf and stuff they got it listed over here. But this is where we would hang out. There were stores around the outside of Metro Center, which, to be honest with you, I think that's why Metro Center died the most, is they overdeveloped the outside of the mall with retail, and retailers didn't have to obey the Metro Center laws or requirements in order to have their store there. So they just could be on the outside and they can do whatever they want. They didn't have to meet their requirements. I think that had more to do with why Metro Center died so quickly. Is just the overdevelopment around the mall itself. There was no reason for a store to be located in the mall anymore. Anyways, I got that. So what was I able to do? So I was able to take those renderings that I had found. I was able to blow everything up using Adobe and just doing like a poster print, and made a map that fits on a 8.5 or 11 by 17 sheet of paper. And now I was able to label all my stores. I put in the anchor stores or the anchor locations. I kept the Ice Palace and I kept it this way because I wanted it to be more part of the renovation era. So I want to say this, everything was taking place before the renovation. So that way you could, as the player, make a decision on what you do. You could just say, okay, this is when they renovated this and everything happened. But this is the lower level. And again, it's Metro Center circa 1990 to 93. But it shows all the back entrances and the back hallways and how all the stores are interlocked. One of the things I always admired about Metro Center is you never really saw deliveries at Metro Center because they had a big delivery bay over here. That's what this is all about, for stuff to be brought in for the bigger stores. And then like all these back entrances, like UPS could pull up over here, they get in the back entrance and they could go to the mall. So there, every once in a while you'd see a postal carrier or a UPS delivery person with a truck, a dolly full of stuff for some of the smaller stores where they had to go inside. But for the most part, deliveries were hidden. You never really saw delivery trucks out front, big semis blocking the roadway. They were very good at being able to hide all that stuff, plus the hours of operations. A lot of their deliveries were late at night, early in the morning type stuff. But anyways, this shows. And then it's also, I have all these little office spaces. Like there was a lot of office space, obviously at a mall, for business purposes, for running and operating the mall. So this is the lower level. And then I was able to create the upper level as well. This is the famous balcony for watching the ice skating rink down there. And then there's a restaurant over here. Again, going into all of the stores and locations. This is back over here. We have the famous alley, which was always cool. And then you have Bourbon Street over here. Mostly restaurants over here. The alley was just a lot of those little mom and pop unique shops. I remember buying leather goods over here, and they would have the person with all the ceramic dragons and glass stuff. There was just very unique stuff over at the alley, and it was all done up like an alley, and it felt like, ooh, I'm a bad boy, I'm going in the alley type stuff. Just it was very themed. Metro Center was cool on so many different levels, especially being born in the 70s and living in down the street from the Metro Center and spending my high school years, we'll say, hanging out at the mall and seeing it change and evolve over the years. And this was one of those things when you were a kid, you never thought about Metro Center closing and going out of business. But it happened. Businesses don't last forever. Over here is the main office space for Metro Center as a whole, and Westcorp, who owned Metro Center. So yeah, so I was able to make these great maps so that I can go exploring, but I numbered everything according to the numbers on the map. So this is all your like store locations. So what I've been doing is I built a document that has all the different store locations. So obviously, I'm only picking the ones that I can find or that I personally had connections to, like Walden's Books. I spent a lot of time there. Where do you think I got all the cliff notes that got me through high school? Musicland and stuff like that. Gamekeeper, which was a cool shop. There's a mail office. So USPS is actually, had a location there. So this just kind of goes. This is just a simple chart that just, all the stores that just I was familiar with and had kind of some personal connection with, and the ones that I could find and different things like that. The gold mine, which was huge for me because that was our arcade when we were growing up. That's where we hung out. And then I have over here, we have like Bourbon Street. The only thing I remember in Bourbon Street was McDonald's. I know there was more restaurants. I don't have that information, this is what's going to be cool about not having this chart finished, is I'll be able to, when I go exploring, put in stores. And how I'm going to do that is this messy list of stores right here. This is something I found on the internet that listed all the tenants in 1993. And I've been going through and I've made a chart with all these tenants. I still need to go in and kind of identify who the tenants are, because some of the store names back then, you might be scratching your head a little bit going, who is this? Like, what is this what kind of store is this? Is it a clothing store? Is it a kid's store? Is it a merchandise store? So I need to go in and identify all those stores. So that's the next document I need to finish up and do all the research on those stores. So those are the tools that I'm adding to Dead Mall. I'm got my maps. I'm creating my store locations so that I can go exploring. I'm also working on a bunch of other kind of mechanical things to add to this game. I've created a chart like why did the mall die? So if you want to be a little bit more like roll a dice and take your chances to see what happens and then respond accordingly, that will work. And I've got some other things I'm working on, which that's what I'll be talking about in the next video, is kind of the tools or the mechanics that I'll be adding to this game. Just here alone, this game, there's nothing really to it. You have a very easy way to set up your characters. You just have 3 difficulty ratings, and you just got to beat that score on a 2d6 plus your modifiers. Nothing complicated there. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to add, like, what is the oracle going to be, and how, what are you going to find? So I'm adding some more solo play stuff to the game, so that I can just sit back and enjoy living in nostalgia life of exploring Metro Center Mall during the 90s as a teenage adolescent boy who was a heavy metal band enjoying life. So anyways, this is video 1. The next video I'll talk about the mechanics, and then in the third video we're going to kind of do a sample play. I'm looking forward to creating all these videos. So thank you for watching and have a good day.